Crank It Up. I'm Jim Price, and this is part 2 of my top 20 double features. We've had some great guesses in yesterday's video, so if you haven't had a chance to mark down your guesses, make sure you do it now, because we're going to get right into it. Number 10 is Pin, the only Luchador double feature. Pin is extremely strong, on the borderline of acceptable for a double feature, because it does so many good things. It cancels abilities, which we've seen as a double feature. Yes, Pin has a cost, but the greater issue is in its power management. It nullifies the presence of power while still letting you exploit the power, which is really powerful and can swing a base in an instant. It combos well with so many Luchador cards and has the ability to set up instantly. I suppose if I had to pick a Luchador action to be a double feature, it would be this, but the cost feels too easy for the payoff. If I recall correctly, it used to require a setup card, but was changed to be more open, so here we are. Number 9 is Catfight, which is Sacrifice as a double feature. This is a great use of context, where a sacrifice does not make a whole lot of sense for the wizards. This is perfect for the cats, and greatly speeds up their draws, because the cats are so top heavy. They have a lot of bad cards to get through. This is one of my favorite cards to combo with Uber Serum, since it blocks the destruction while also making Catfight stronger. This is a double feature you will definitely use, and you will feel its absence when it is buried on the bottom of your deck. There are still times to use it on yourself when you don't have a victim lined up, and even combos nicely with their base House of 9 lives. Great card overall, and definitely a key choice for a double feature, because your impression of it changes when you see the rest of the cat cards. Number 8 is Fortune and Glory. I personally think that this is above the line for a double feature, but Explorer's got a Titan, and I quote, "because it'd be funny. So what do I know? You have a Princess double feature that moves any minion. This is incredibly strong because I prefer this to Destruction. You can waste someone else's minion while being more efficient, but you can also use it on yourself. Fortune and Glory lets you do the same thing twice, with no restrictions. You don't need a minion there. If you just want to pull 2 rival minions from a base, you can. This makes efficient victory so easy, and I really question why this is a double feature in its current form. But there is no denying this card's power as a waste card, which is why I like it so much. Internally, it also works great if, on someone else's turn, you seed 2 Crypt Looters and then move them off. This card really makes the Tornado double feature carried away look bad, but its power is undeniable if you like waste strategies like I do. This card would be even higher if not for being above baseline. Number 7 is Bring Down the Walls. Shinobi is obviously incredibly powerful, especially since you can never say for certain if you have one. But Bring Down the Walls is a more balanced approach because you know it's coming. It can be countered with Disenchants, but it trades telegraphing for not knowing what is coming, and the ability to play any minion at the last second is tantalizing. Whether it's a Great Worm for VP or your partner minion for whatever, you have a self-balancing double feature that has a realistic chance of being seen, and will definitely be played when seen. Its flaw is that it's a telegraphed hidden ninja for easy VP, but that telegraphing contributes to the overall area control approach of the dragons, which is great. Number 6 is Cut Off One Head. And yes, I can read. Cut Off One Head is Hydra personified. If Hydra is going to exist, this card has to exist in this form, and it has to be a double feature. It's so iconic, and everyone knows what this card is supposed to do. It combos well with Hydra, but works perfectly with other swarm combos as well. The only issue is the card's name, which is incredibly disappointing and really frustrating if I'm being honest. Renaming it reminds me of the 90s Fox censorship, where they insisted that Spider-Man had to be shot with lasers, not bullets. But mechanically and thematically, this card basically wrote itself. Number 5 is Noble Steed. As I mentioned recently, this is a card that could easily be a double feature in a core set. It's the type of card that could appear 3 times in a set of cards. It's simple, clean, and effective. Noble Steed, at worst, is a terminal movement, making me wonder if we should never see pure terminal movements like Celestial Teleport types as a double feature. Players may think that this is movement being seeded in advance, but the goal of such cards really is to have you move every turn and have it not be a gimmick. Noble Steed really accomplishes that, allowing a key minion to mount up, scatter when needed, and make a last stand when it's finally time to trample that base. Number 4 is Transmogrify. Transmogrify works wonders when you can exploit it, but it also works wonders when you don't. I'm so happy that it lets you play the minion anywhere, not just where the victim was destroyed. Obviously, it has the benefit of having Shell Game in the same deck, but you can always upgrade a copycat for a mimic for generally 3 extra power. Transmogrify benefits attack-heavy minions where losing them means nothing, much like a copycat. It lets you pivot, it can exploit destruction loopholes, and gives you access to your best cards. This is a summon type card that feels earned, where you feel the cost but have a chance to mitigate it, and you will certainly use every copy of it you come across. Number 3 is Daisy Chain. Daisy Chain doesn't have the most flashy power output of other minion modifiers, but it just works. It's extremely flexible. Use it to help yourself, use it to hurt others. But most importantly, it's the rare negative card in Smash Up that can actually be turned off. Negative power can backfire because you may want to exploit that power later. In fact, the card is telling you to eventually turn it off, because inverting this card can be a 4-power swing in either direction, and the fairies have the means to do that. I don't even like playing fairies that much, but this card is great and really stands above several cards. It presents a clear idea of what the fairies want to do and does it well. It's ironically one of the best OR decisions that actually isn't an OR decision at all. This card doesn't get enough attention, even though it was a super early action awareness candidate. I still love it after all this time, but I really love my top 2, which instantly came to me. I knew Daisy Chain would be in my top 5, but these 2 were automatically given their spots. Number 2 is Total Sellout. Drawing 2 cards isn't bad. Using your action to draw 2 cards is bad to me. Using your action to draw 3 cards is pretty tempting. Doing the bare minimum and getting 3 cards is awesome. Doing that twice, especially on the same base, is amazing. You don't need to win, you just need a minion. You get the same cards as Power Pose, but with an easier condition and potential for more, and you get 2 copies. It's just so much fun because it's literally free card draw at a great rate. One of my favorite March Smashness moments from year 2 was where I jettisoned everything to go into Ghost Mode, won a base, and instantly rebuilt my hand with 6 new cards. The best part about this card is that I rarely feel tempted to save it for 3, because 2 cards can help me now, even though it's not hard to get to 3, and I wonder if it should have been a 1-2 split rather than a 2-1 split, because there is so little downside. I always feel great when I draw them, and I am fine when I Total Sellout into Total Sellout because I am still expediting through my deck, which is extremely scary to do with Rockstars. But it doesn't trump my number 1, and yes, Jackson Hogan, you guessed it, Lunch Run. This is not just my favorite double feature, but my favorite double feature to double up. Throw them both on the base and let the craziness ensue. Dump your hand with Rude Awakening and draw it back instantly. It facilitates crazy halfling come from behind chains, and their small power means that you get to trigger it more frequently. This card benefits tremendously from the fact that minions with cancelled abilities are still played, rather than being put into play. Sure, this card is part of an obscure infinite loop, but the ability to constantly regenerate your hand on the fly is so satisfying. Sometimes I will just seed the lunch runs and not trigger them yet to delay my payoff and maximize it. It draws a ton of aggro this way because players know it is happening, which means I get to continue my halfling chain for a very efficient victory. Or I just do the Rude Awakening play. If you combine this card with something like Zeppelin, it's outstanding, and I remain convinced that this card would get a lot more attention if it lived outside of Munchkin. This means, if I actually do end up doing that top 10 cards that should exist outside of Munchkin, I'd have to ban this card. Double features do a lot. They tell you what a faction wants to do. They give you deck consistency by increasing your chance to draw it. The decision of which card to make a double feature is crucial. I want to see a 10 minion faction have 3 double features. It's certainly cheaper because it's 1 less art card. What are your favorite double features? There's a lot of good cards out there that didn't make the cut, so let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Let's shut it down.